right, we are back on Wealth Protector TV and Personal Pension Radio, wherever you might be actually watching this, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And I'm joined here by Tim Kolacz. How you doing, Tim?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I am all right. Tim and I have known each other for, a number of years. I forget how many years now, but I got to ask
like
you.
9 or 10.
Yeah, isn't that something? Is it 9 or 10 years? That's incredible.
Right.
So where in the world are you with that? Is that one of your personal sculptures, something that you do as a hobby?
I built this myself. No, this is a very cool sculpture along the Mississippi River in front of the state capitol in Baton Rouge.
Fantastic. So how did you end up in Baton Rouge taking a picture of that thing?
So it's a great story. My daughter actually is looking at colleges, and we went to Baton Rouge and LSU specifically on a college road trip.
Where'd she end up going?
She has yet to make that decision. The decision is forthcoming within the next week or so.
All right, fantastic. My backdrop is actually Camp Road right here. Over on this side is where we rent a cabin. The cabin directly on that side, and the lake that I grew up spending my summers at as a kid is this is the Camp Road.
Oh, sweet! Very cool.
So I wish I was quarantined there because the ice just went out. You can get your kayak in the water and ready to go fishing.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to virtually connect with you today as we're all doing our social distancing in the midst of this coronavirus nightmare. And this thought occurred to me as I was having a conversation with one of my clients who's struggling with how to deal with all of their workers and the risks that they're facing now that nobody ever imagined that they would have. And one of their questions was still, how in the world are we going to stay on track for retirement planning? And I asked them what they'd heard about, and what they had heard was always invest, and keep investing. And I said, I'm going to be a bit contrary to that, a lot contrary, because I believe the first step in any good investment plan or retirement plan or business plan should be protection first. And I said, when's the last time that you had a complete protection audit, a full review of everything you have to protect yourself as you're moving forward? And they said, well, I've never thought of that before, right? So it really got me to thinking that I got to connect with Tim, because for those of you watching on my channel, Tim is, I don't know how many years now. What is it, like 60 years?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, it's been about 14
years. Tim has a particular specialty and just an intimate knowledge in that business protection and insurance space that most people don't. And it really is outstanding to have that as a resource. And I thought, Tim and I need to get together for a conversation. That's why I called you, was we should do something, right?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you calling, and I'm here to help in any way I can.
Yeah, a big question that I'm going to have right off the bat is just give me an idea of some of the conversations that you're having with your clients right now, because I'm sure there's been a bunch of folks who have been, to say the least, a bit nervous about, man, is my insurance going to cover me, or what am I missing, or oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, we're having a lot of those conversations, and they started, this is a conversation that we just don't have in the past 3-4 weeks, right? We've had these conversations for the past 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, 15 years with some of my clients, is that we're looking how to cover their assets on a day-to-day basis, not just in case of a worldwide pandemic where the world's gone nuclear,
Right. I mean, there's some coverage now, and I'm going to contradict you a little bit and say that I don't believe, because I've been doing this for 22 years. I personally don't believe that this is just my opinion now, you don't have to agree with this so as not to upset anybody. I don't believe that most insurance advisors are having these kinds of conversations. Now, folks watching this, I know Tim. He gets personally connected with his clients, and he is actually seriously concerned enough to have conversations about this kind of stuff before people believe they need it. So yeah, you are unique in that way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot, because
that's enough compliments for now. Okay, so one of the big questions that's coming up, though, is you got a lot of clients and customers and business owners and entrepreneurs who are worried about, man, not just what if I can't pay my bills, but what if my suppliers can't pay their bills? What if, the chain of supply, the inventory chain or the logistics chain, somewhere along the way, people owe us money, things like that. I mean, I'm sure you've had that kind of conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We have those conversations frequently, but even more so just recently as this was coming on, we started talking to our customers about credit insurance and how to protect your accounts receivables, those monies that your customers pay you. How is that covered? We've seen this in the past, when, dating myself a little bit, but I used to work at the Broadway, and
oh my gosh, yes.
We know what happened to the Broadway and Robinson's, Robinson's. Now it used not to be Robinson's May. It was just Robinson's. And,
right.
What happens is when these types of things happen, these companies go broke. Broadway and Robinson's, they filed bankruptcy, but they stayed in business. But they didn't pay anybody for one whole month.
Okay, wow.
And one of my previous clients they sold high-end small electrics inside your kitchen, $100, $200 toasters, stuff like that.
Okay.
And when Robinsons went out of business, they didn't stop shipping to them because they knew they would get paid for the following month's shipment because of the way the courts work. But for that 1 month, they didn't get paid, and they were shipping about $1 million a month.
Ooh.
But they had credit insurance. So even though Robinsons didn't pay for them that month, the credit insurance came through, kicked in, and paid for that $1 million, that loss of revenues that they had from that event. So because they shipped the goods, so they got it paid for it at sell price.
Gotcha. Now, I'm guessing, much like in the legal profession, because we do asset protection at our law firm, that one of the things that we tell folks is you can't do asset protection after the event, right?
Correct. Yeah,
so
you've got to be ahead of the game.
You got to be ahead of the game. So this may be a great opportunity just to encourage people who are not having problems with their accounts receivable to seek some information about credit insurance. I mean, are there just a huge amount of difficulties to get such coverage, or is it something that, a good advisor like yourself can pretty much walk somebody through?
Well, there's a couple pieces to it. The biggest thing is who your customers are. As the Broadway was starting to falter, the credit insurance people were starting to say, well, we're not going to, we may or may not insure them. With Robinsons, it was a little bit quicker. And with some of these companies that you have today, it's much more rapid. You've got restaurants that were doing $400, $500, $1 million a month in January. Now they're out of business.
Right.
These guys have boarded up. So you as the supplier, you as the supplier, if you're a meat supplier, these guys were out of business and you might have shipped them $400,000 worth of meat last month. Well, you may not get paid. So getting through that is, it's always been a challenge, but as we're working through it now, what we're trying to do is talk to people, get at least the application in so that you know whether or not you can even buy the insurance, and then at what cost.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that is crazy to think about, that businesses run so tight, right? This myth that entrepreneurs and businesses have huge amounts of cash sitting in the bank and they're going to be fine. The reality is they run on very tight margins, and that credit insurance, I'm guessing, is a conversation that I know that I've go through this with some of my recommendations over the years. I can think back to times when I recommended, you might want to, and those clients did not take action. And I'm sure you've got 1,000 of those where you're looking at people that you had this conversation with and you're like, sorry.
Yeah, we do have those, but the biggest thing is, we're always looking at the client first, right? You got to look at the client. And I have these conversations all the time, about people, are they going to buy this coverage? Are they not going to buy this coverage? And I always tell them, look, I'm an advisor. I'm here to provide a product and a service. And the reality is it's what's the lesson they taught you the very first day of business school, right? Stay in business.
Stay in business.
Right. So when we're talking about this, I provide them all this stuff and all the things that, that we've talked through and that we both believe that they need. But at the end of the day, it's their decision and they got to do what's right. And, cash is king. So when you have a cash flow and you're not able to do that, to buy that extra level of insurance, it's like, okay, look, it's a risk mitigator, right?
Right.
Your risk of not making payroll is by buying my product is something that you're not going to do.
And I completely agree with you. And as it relates to, you've got to have the conversation, but I am reminded of a conversation that I had with you actually, Tim, about something as simple as deductibles. And the amount of deductible that people will hold on their insurance. And folks, pay close attention to this, because this is something that Tim actually reinforced for me over the years that I've known him, that if we're honest with ourselves as business owners, as individuals, there's a certain limit to when we will call our insurance company to file a claim. And most insurance cubicle workers don't care about your deductible. They just sell you on premium. They sell you on whatever. Tim had recommended the deductible being a critical way to balance costs and pick up coverage. Talk to me about that just for a quick minute to let people know what we're talking about.
You bet. So one of the things I talked about, and entrepreneurs by and large, they want to mitigate their risk and take calculated risk. They're not all these fly-by-night guys that are like, oh, I'm going to do everything and we're going to make $1 gazillion. No.
Right.
Most of your successful entrepreneurs have taken very calculated risk and have looked at things from a multitude of perspectives. One of the perspectives, the deductibles, is I always ask a client or a prospect, what's your pain point? At what point do you want to not reach into your wallet and pull out a check and write me a big giant check? What is it? Is it $500? Is it $5,000? Is it $25,000? And by doing that, we can better understand what you're willing to buy, what you're willing not to buy, and at what value. So we talked a minute about cash flows. When you have a higher deductible, your premiums go down because now you're sharing the risk with the insurance carrier. So if they know that your pain point, if you know rather that your pain point is 25 grand and you buy a general liability policy, you can share that risk. And now you're protecting your assets for that big giant $1 million claim. But you're also protecting yourself against getting smacked around every time somebody comes in and tries to get you for 5 or 10 grand. You know that you're going to just pay those claims. And so you can avoid working with your carrier, which, even the best carriers can sometimes have challenges on a claim.
Right. No, and it's such good advice for people to pay attention to, that higher deductibles mean lower premiums. And when you have that conversation, sometimes you can actually pick up significantly more coverage, even in other areas that you might not have considered, by raising your deductibles on stuff like your automotive coverage or your general liability coverage. It's a great conversation to have. Now, there is a big item that you and I touched on before we started recording that I want to make sure that we don't miss as we're going to keep this short and sweet, and we'll probably do this again, Tim, because this is going to be important for a lot of folks to come back to.
Right.
It's this idea of there's a whole group of people that used to work in the office and now they're in their living room. Right? And now they're in their living room. And I know one of the things that drives me nuts with employment law is this idea that employers have to make sure that people are clocking in and clocking out and taking their breaks. And how in the world are people dealing with that now? What's going on in the world as it relates to companies protecting themselves in that respect?
Yeah. So even though your people are working from at home now, you still have them, they're still supervisors, they still need a manager, and they still need to be followed up on and make sure that they're doing their job and not just, watching Geraldo, right?
Is he still
you
on?
know he's still digging around that one
That one vault, Al Capone's
yeah,
vault.
Al Capone's vault. Yeah, he's still in there. So one of the things we're doing is if you have all these people are now working from home, just as if they were in the office and they had a supervisor walking around at 10 after 8 checking in on them, everybody saying good morning. Although it's sincere, it's heartfelt, they're really making sure that everybody's in their desk and the computer's fired up and they're working at 8 o'clock, right?
Exactly.
They need to do the same thing now, because what's going to happen is in about 6 or 8 months, all of these people, if I'm assuming we're all back in the offices and things, they're
Right.
going to say, hey, at the start of the year, I was never taking breaks.
I was working all day long. It was 29 hours a day.
Right? And I was only taking half-hour lunches. It's those types of things that your management team and your supervising team still needs to keep a track of, and
Right.
force them to put it in writing, force them to send you an email at the end of the week and say, yep, I've taken all my breaks. I've taken all of this. Because what will happen is you'll get a couple of these lawyer guys at September, October, November.
Those lawyers.
I'm telling you, every one of them. I got a family full of them too. So, no, but what you're going to get is you're going to get these guys are going to go to the employment attorneys, and the employment attorneys are going to be like, oh, heck yeah, there's going to be 1,000 of these. I'm going to make a ton of dough. And so, but if you as the employer have all of that in writing from each of your employees that have been working at home,
right,
you're going to be in a much better position to have that nipped at the bud and just say, you know what, you
Here's
tell
my
your
email.
attorney to respond back and say, hey, look, we have everything in writing from all of our employees. This guy's toast, man. You're out of luck. Sorry you wasted 5 hours of your life and this guy's life, but you're going to lose. So go away.
Right. That is amazing. Never thought about that angle that yeah, there's going to be a percentage always that we have to worry about as it relates to lawsuits and adverse claims coming back, people going after things. That's crazy. Now,
yeah.
On that same note, though, you mentioned something that is kind of even hot off the presses as it relates to the workers' compensation classifications for people who were over here classified in the building at work, but now are working from home. That could have massive ramifications, right?
Yeah, so something just it came across my desk this afternoon, and it's from the Workers' Compensation Insurance Rating Bureau, which is the, quasi-government agency that helps run the workers' compensation rates here in California.
Okay.
And they've just come out this afternoon, or within the past couple of days, indicating about how they may in fact change the rating for some of your people that used to be, say, a field personnel or, say, a warehouse type of person.
So somebody out in the field is going to cost this much, and someone at home, you're saying, could cost way less?
Yeah, it potentially could, because typically your cheapest class code is your clerical class code, this 8810 class code.
Okay.
And it's cheap. It's typically, it's averaging somewhere around $1 or $1.10 per $100 of payroll.
Okay.
I've seen it as cheap as 50 cents per $100 of payroll, right? Whereas you've got somebody that's an outside sales, which could be a couple of bucks, to a project manager that could be 10 or 12 bucks per 100. Now, if they're working from home but still working, the WCIRB, this Workers' Compensation Insurance Rating Bureau, is working with the carriers, the insurance carriers, to change that rating so that they can now reclassify them at home as a clerical person, which would be unbelievable.
That would be huge. So how does a business owner actually follow up on it? Or maybe I should just say this. Is this an opportunity for a consultation, a review, a connection with someone like yourself to kind of look into this?
Yeah, so this is again, since it's so fresh and new, it's going to be coming down. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be working hard to understand what's going on. I'm going to be posting to LinkedIn about this type of stuff. I was actually going to post on this entire workers' compensation and rating bureau posting on my LinkedIn later on this afternoon.
Oh,
And then
outstanding.
as we go through this over the next several days, we'll be making sure, because there will be some pushback from the insurance carriers,
For
but
sure.
probably not a ton, because that they do know that these people are working from home, and if they can prove that they're all working from home and that your office has only got a skeleton crew and these people are in fact at their homes at their kitchen tables, then they're going to say, okay, let's go ahead and do it.
Gotcha. No, that could be huge for some companies that might be considering furlough versus layoff versus keep people working, right?
Yeah, because that's your biggest thing, because there's a big giant discrepancy as to what people are really understanding, because when you get furloughed, that's a very clear legal term. And furlough means, hey, we're not firing you. You have a job to come back to, but we're not paying you.
Right.
They can potentially continue to pay your medical, your health benefits and things like that, but you're not getting paid. And we have friends that have been furloughed, and they're not getting paid until, middle of summer or later. I've also, then my clients are actually laying employees off, and laying employee off means that they no longer have a job. They're not getting paid. They're not getting health benefits. They got to go straight to COBRA,
right.
Things like that, and the COBRA is your, medical health benefits when you are no longer employed by that carrier. And it's kind of that in-between health benefit.
Right.
And then people are still, being terminated for cause. And, and that's what people aren't realizing, is that even though you're working from home, the term is working from home.
Yeah.
And if you're not working, all the same rules apply.
You could be receiving some benefits, even having pay continuation, but you're not really working, right?
Right. And that's another thing. One of these pay continuation things is the Workers' Compensation Insurance Rating Bureau has also indicated that there may be some forgiveness of workers' comp premium for those people that have been sent home and they're not working because they can't work, or they may have been quarantined or whatever, but the company is still willing to pay them for a couple of weeks, or say 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
This group is still working to figure out if there can be some sort of premium forgiveness if you're still going to pay those people and then not working, because clearly if you're not working, you're not going to get injured, and you're not going to, hopefully not claim a workers' comp injury when you're not actually working. That's a big deal. Working. It's huge.
Once again, though, it also sounds like, that dealing with insurance companies and carriers and especially fresh off the presses, ink isn't even dry type stuff like this. Yeah. I'm going to just put it out there. Is this an area that we could connect people, business owners, entrepreneurs directly to you for a bit of a consultation, or is that too much to ask?
No, I think it would be good. I'm more than happy to talk with anybody that needs some help. And again, I may not be your cup of tea. I may not be your type of broker. Everybody likes something different. If I can help you and you just like your other guy better, great. As long as you are taken care of first. That's what I do with all of my clients. And on my LinkedIn, it starts off with, nobody gives a damn about your business as much as you, but I come a close second.
You come in a close second. It is so much more eloquent than the way that I usually say it, right? I love that.
Probably.
No, I totally love it. So that'll be a great ending point for today. How do people connect with you? I mean, what's the best ways for people to connect with you? You want to give out your home address? Personal.
Sure, just come on by. The best way to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn. Tim Kolacz, Kolacz. You'll be able to find me, no problem. You can also call me directly at 714-922-4234. That's my office line, and it'll forward right to me. Or you can catch me at my email at tim.kolacz@hubinternational.com.
Yeah, spell that last name one more time so we get it all right.
You bet. It is Kol, A as in apple, C as in Charlie, Z as in Zamboni.
Zamboni. Fantastic.
Yeah, big hockey
Tim.
fan over here.
Yes, I love that. I really appreciate it. Again, love reconnecting with you. It's too bad that we're not, we still have to do the social distancing, but this works.
Yeah.
And if we have anything new coming up, everybody listening, we will do this again. We'll bring it to you. Get on over to LinkedIn, connect with Tim on LinkedIn. He is going to bring current, up-to-date, quick stuff like what you heard about today. It's going to be on his LinkedIn profile before this video even gets out. So make sure that you're connecting with Tim on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Kraig with a K at Kraig with a K, Strom, S-T-R-O-M. I'm about to give out my email address, which is fine, but Kraig with a K, you can't miss me. Folks, take care. Again, Tim, thanks so much.
Thanks, Kraig. See you, buddy.